It is Tuesday morning. We're headed up to the shop. Another busy day ahead. What else is new? Rain seems to be done, which is nice. I'm in the M3, which is why I have to yell so you can hear me. Still got no door panel over there. This thing is fun to drive, even though every time you use it, something else breaks. The mirror actuator on the left mirror now no longer functions. In addition to the radio, in addition to the glove box, in addition to the automatic window on that side, in addition to a long list of other things that don't function on this car. The thing that's really fun and that still functions is the S52. I think it's one of the better M engines, even though it does not get that reputation in most circles. But at 75, fifth gear, you lay into it. My God! I mean, that's S62 power, and this car weighs nothing. That's part of it. Part of it's the gearing, that it's at 4,000 RPM at 85 miles an hour. But you do not have to downshift this car at highway speeds at all. You just roll into it a little bit and it flies. It's pretty cool. Now, having said that, with the gearing the way it is, I don't know what this car redlines at. It's probably around 7,000, 60, 750, something like that. I don't know what the top speed of this car would be, and we're not going to find out today, unfortunately, though that would be fun. I'm guessing probably somewhere around 120, 130. I don't think it would get close to 140. It only makes like 240 horsepower, I think. But it would run out of gear, I feel like. If it's at 4,000 at 85 or close to it, there's 85, it's about 3,800. I don't know, maybe some of you guys, AJ, if you watch these things, what's this thing top out at? There's a few more things that don't work, so let's go to temp. It's negative 35. Somehow the temp sensor got, one of the wires is torn on that. It's just kind of buried, so I got to get it up on the lift to fix that. There's the glove box button, which pops out anytime you press it, which is why it's not in there. Of course, there's this build quality problem. And if you want to turn it off, you just hit check, and it seems to short out, and then the whole thing dies. And the clutch picks up a millimeter off the floor and requires like 80 pounds to press it to the floor. I don't know why. It's some aftermarket clutch kit is my guess. I don't know though. You get used to driving this, and then it's impossible to drive the M5 again. The clutch feels really light, and then it picks up like halfway up, but that's the way it should feel, in my opinion. That's what most BMW auto or manuals feel like. One of the good things is it does not have fifth gear lean. That's been fixed. Blue Bus update day. Dot 17 came out about a week or 10 days, probably 2 weeks ago now, and we've been lazy. This is still running dot 16 in Kennan's car, so I'm flashing it using the flash tool available from bluebus.dev. Nice easy GUI, progress bar there at the bottom, up to the latest version. I'm about to do mine as well. The setup we have, you've probably seen in the E39 source videos, but we're using an old bracket that puts it above the Mark IV navigation computer there. And then I got I think it's micro, not mini, micro USB to USB-C cable that I just leave plugged into the Blue Bus, and then I can wrap it up and just stick it here on top of the nav computer. So updating is super easy. Just open the trunk, plug it into the computer, select the file, and click flash, versus having to dig the whole thing out of there and find a cable. Highly recommend you do this. These are real cheap cables from Amazon, and they work perfectly. It's solid. This is the new one. We're now using whiteout to mark the drive shaft. That's pressed on. Nate, look familiar? This guy totally sucked. He had to heat it up with the flamethrower and use the slide hammer. It went in a touch further than the old one was, but I think it's fine. So that's done. This is done. I'm gonna put a shim on there, put this back together, and then the least favorite thing of them all. I didn't film this last week, but the FSU we did, this is part of the electrical connector that clips onto the FSU, and I couldn't figure out why it wouldn't come off. I pulled the connector and the whole FSU fell out of the car. It's the 2000 Le Mans car, the M5. So then I was able to like pull it down and actually look at it and work on it a little bit. And I'm squeezing the tabs on the side, nice and self-explanatory, into open position, and then pulling and wiggling and pulling and prying. and I could not get it apart because here's the old sensor. Excuse the dirty hands after a day's work, but look at that. It completely melted part of the connector onto those pins. And I had to destroy that and destroy this. And now finally, Kobe, we can eliminate it and be thankful that that job is done. So I had to go over here and pull down one of my spare HVAC boxes. That's a transmission there. And rob the connector, cut it off, repin it, go get crimps that are big enough. I don't like doing that, but it's short of ripping out the whole HVAC box. There's no better way to do it. So it's as well as it can be. It works. The sensor I bought was the old school sensor, which doesn't fit and clip in. That sensor wasn't clipped in either. I ended up robbing one from over there, and then I'm going to have to order another one next time that customer's in and put a new one in because that's what he requested. So holy crap, what a pain in the ass. But it's done. Anyways, 550. Get in touch with Alex today. He helped on IMPA. It starts, it runs, it is loud, it has no exhaust. Let's take a listen to the 4.8 liter N62. And I'm actually curious if the clutch switch is working, so I'm not going to press the clutch. Let's see if it starts. Does not. That's a good sign. Okay, now we press the clutch. Low on coolant, it's giving me that error. The seatbelt thing should go away, and it does. Throttle works. Brakes feel good. Let's check reverse. Boy, is that weird. Without a drive shaft in it, I could let the clutch out, but I'm not. So reverse lights come on, PDC comes on, no check engine light. Sweet. So that's great news on this car today. That means it's ready to have its drive shaft installed, heat shields, exhaust, engine cowl. I'll probably drive it a little bit first. Actually, was that just the, what is it bitching about? That's the service thing. Let's go into service here and see what it's complaining about. It might just be the coolant. Service overdue. This is how slow iDrive is. Info sources. You guys getting blasted? No. Service info. Microfilter. So it's just complaining about the microfilter. Engine oil, it has not been able to read for a while. Check control messages, set time and date, oil level sensor malfunction. That is because it is unplugged. All right, that's this. The M-Tech has a new battery now, genuine BMW AGM battery. This thing had conies. We're trying to put Dynon springs on it. Not conies, they're Bilsteins, and that's the problem. The Dynon springs do not work on the Bilstein rear struts. I'm in communication with the customer to see how he wants to proceed. I would recommend a set of 4 coney struts and new hardware and cage bearings and all of that. It just costs a bunch of money that I don't think he wants to spend. We'll see what happens. Biggest progress today has been on this. I showed you the drive shaft. We got the transmission out. We've replaced a whole bunch of stuff. Today was actually super productive. So transmission came out. We've got new mounts on the back with hardware. Flex disc with hardware. He even bought the bolts. This joint is new. The seal, shaft seal in there is new. He wanted to replace the gear position sensor, so that is new. That clip is new. This wiring clip is new. He's just like me, replacing everything on the Explosion. We removed the slave cylinder. The hose coming out of the slave cylinder does not look pretty. I'm going to have to send him a video or some pictures or something. Right up here, I have a video that I took earlier. I will put that in here for context. Back of the engine, soft clutch line. Yeah, so we'll have to talk to him, see what he wants to do. Good news is rear main's clean. We got the pilot bearing out. He did not supply a new pilot bearing. He's supplying parts for this, which I don't generally accept, but he already had the parts and then got chickened out to do it himself. So that's why he came to me, and he's my 7th or 8th customer, so I'm okay with it. Anyways, we ordered a new pilot bearing. That's going to go on. We have the pressure plate and clutch and flywheel and all of that stuff is here. all OE, so that's ready to go back in. No, the pilot bearing's not in there, even though it should be. We're doing shifted tent pins. I've never worked on those before. I'm going to save that for a fresh day. We rebuilt the shifter carrier. It's got new bushings in the front, new bearing in the back, 545i short shifter, and a new cup bearing in there as well. So we've got exhaust hardware, the pin that holds the carrier onto the transmission, nuts for the drive shaft CV joint at the end, 3 more bolts to put the drive shaft on the transmission, exhaust gaskets, extra clip, extra gasket, the nuts for that, and then those are the torque to yield bolts for the clutch pressure plate. My head is dicked. I need to get out of here. I've got to go. We've been doing this all day, and it shows. We've gotten a lot done. I'm going to change clothes here and hit the road. But that stupid piece of shit's in the front. That's done. That's put back together with thread locker red, and that needs to be cleaned up quite a bit. It's very greasy, but it is packed and clamped.